Hi there, LinkedIn family. Jonathan here from Some Talented People. And today's book, very, very interesting. Never Enough is about addiction. Now, the lady that wrote this book spent the first 23 years of her life. Well, not the first 23 years of her life, but she spent the first part of her adolescent life addicted to drugs of all sorts, homeless, living under bridges, shooting up in crack houses, all the terrible things and the recklessness and the danger that those of us that have had problems with addiction face. And then a difference of approach one day from her father, from which she'd been estranged, convinced her to make a change. And before this, a fellow addict had remarked, "Oh, it'll never be enough," and that hence the title of the book. And so she then pulled herself up from the lowest dregs and became a neuroscientist studying addiction. And this book takes what is known from a neuroscientific point of view about many drugs and their realities, and explains it with her own narrative interwoven throughout the story. Now, there's a lot of detail about all sorts of drugs, about all sorts of situations, and about how the brain works and how we are behaviorally. But essentially, the word to know, if you don't have time to read the book, is homeostasis, which means balanced, level. So here's what our brains do, and even on coffee or alcohol, you will recognize this to be true. We take whatever we take to change our state. So caffeine to wake us up, maybe. Alcohol to make us more sociable. Weed to make us more relaxed. And what happens is the brain responds because we have various receptors that take on board these intoxicants. And so for example, alcohol affects multiple areas of the brain at multiple different levels, whereas cannabis has THC receptors and goes into one part. That's not to say that one is better than the other. It's just to say that different compounds and different substances affect our brains in different ways. The truth, however, is this, that we build tolerance. We build tolerance very quickly, and our brain, it is the state that our brain seeks, homeostasis. So no matter what you take, your brain is working to rebalance your system as quickly as possible. And this is where you get into addiction. Because if in response to a external stimuli, whatever it is, your brain, and you know your brain is going to try and level that out, then you can understand why it is that more is required to achieve the same effect as before, whatever you're taking. Could be cake, could be anything. The point is that the pleasurable sensations when you first take anything, or let's say the different sensations when you first take anything, soon become negative as you become addicted in a way that you're taking more and more and more to achieve the same effect. And that's how, we're here in business on LinkedIn, but that's how you go and you end up in a squat or under a bridge or something, because the degree of consumption required to achieve the same result keeps on going up, because your brain becomes more and more effective at balancing you out. And it only then basically spirals to a point where you're doing physical damage through whatever behavior you're doing, and then other parts of the brain and body come in and basically start deteriorating as well. Obviously, liver cirrhosis for alcoholics, for example. So it's a very, very powerful book. It's a very humbling book. And, unlike a lot of people that write about this is first-hand. It's one of the most powerful books I've read in the last year, and I very much recommend it to you because what I've given you here is literally just a tiny bit from the top of it to summarize. So if you know someone who has a struggle with a substance of any sort, buying this book will help you to understand their struggle. And I think one of the most gratifying things from reading it was the rekindling of the relationship between the woman and her father, and that this was the first step to her recovery. And so she believes, and I also believe, that closer relationships, family and friends, will ultimately be a way for you to choose differently if you find yourself addicted. Because ultimately, no intervention that is put upon you really works. It has to be your choice. Now, the choice and the reason, the meaning you give that choice is entirely flexible. So it was that day when her father spoke to her, a day or so after an addict had said, "Oh, we'll never have enough coke," that she went, clink. Oh, wow. No, there's never going to be enough. So great book, bit heavy, but have a nice day, and I'll see you again. Take care. Bye.